That may be our native spirit singing.
What sounds like tribal singing or the lashing of rodeo whips is actually an acoustic phenomenon. The vortices. It can be heard across the vast Great Plains when aircraft land at the latest and largest airport in America, Denver International, situated at the foot of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, USA.
An airport is a place to change from one mode of transportation to another.
Where once American Indians defended their land and gold diggers hoped to find their fortunes, 48 million travelers take off and land every year. More than 160,000 people daily make Denver International Airport a major hub of American air traffic. This iconic project was created by one of the most renowned architects in the United States, Curtis Fentress, whose office is located in downtown Denver, a local spirit.
It's a culmination of an entire career as an architect coming together in a split second, I suppose, that one says it needs to relate to the mountains. And then there's a tremendous struggle from an artistic standpoint of how you develop an idea into something that relates to the mountains.
So the basic idea was looking at, we have the plains, Denver sets on the plains, which is a real strong horizontal line. And breaking the plains into distance is the mountains, the peaks. You can see them for 60 to 80 miles away, and they're layered. There's layers of peaks that create the mountains. And so this was the basic kind of concept of peaks and valleys, creating a form that we could then relate to the other forms of the building, such as the parking structures that you see at the distance, and how we stack those up. And then the curbside canopies, which were little peaks that one drives under as you come into the building and gives you shelter before you come in, and sort of brings you down so that you can have an entry and from a low space into a higher space inside the building.
The old airport on the outskirts of Denver had become much too small and offered no space for expansion. The city council decided to erect a completely new airport in the mid-1980s, an airport which was to become a landmark for the city and state. It was opened in 1995 and employs not only 50,000 people, but also houses approximately 30 airlines. This major airport is gigantic. The runways and terminals cover almost 14,000 hectares, twice the size of Denver City itself. The passengers arrive and depart from over 135,000 square meters of terminal space. The space is light and airy, and passengers feel at home here. The ritual of air travel appears to remain the same for every guest and every flight. Yet nothing at Denver International is built for eternity.
One of the things about an airport as a structure, as a building type, is that it is constantly changing. The concept of making the building flexible is extremely important. So one of the examples of flexibility here in this airport is that the trees in the Great Hall are in huge pots that are on rollers, so they can be moved for maintenance, but also they were moved very quickly whenever we needed to change the security areas. Since 9/11, we've had dramatic security changes around the world that have been introduced. And in many airports, you can see they didn't have enough space to accommodate these changes in security. In this airport, it was a matter of just minutes that they could begin to make changes.
The Great Hall Previously a green oasis for waiting passengers is now a maximum security wing, through which endless throngs of people are channeled every day. Passengers move from one security check to the next, the natural light filtering through the enormous translucent canopy above them. Reminiscent of an encampment of Indian teepees, it is as flexible as the space it covers.
The white fabric roof that you see on top of the terminal building is a very thin material. It's no thicker than, say, my jacket is.
Miss Natalie Bronk. Miss Bronk. Natalie Bronk. Okay, so it's the telephone Miss Natalie Bronk.
The building is sealed so that the air conditioning stays inside the building and the heat stays in the building in the wintertime. We get dramatic temperature swings here, sometimes 40 degrees in a day. We've had stretches in the wintertime of minus 27 degrees Fahrenheit for as much as 10-15 days at a time when we get Arctic air come down from Canada. In the summertime, we get extremes of maybe 100 degrees of Fahrenheit temperature during the week here. So we have a lot of temperature swings, and we try to, the roof on the building has to be sealed to maintain creature comfort inside the building. It's a very dynamic structure. It moves with the wind. It moves about, those spires that you see coming out the top of the building move something like 30 inches in a maximum wind load position. So it gives a little bit.
The 34 peaks of the snow-white roof of the main building reflect the cold heights of the Rockies from a distance. Once a year, it also provides a playground for the adventurous spring cleaning team.
This is the actual material, Teflon-coated fiberglass, that is the roof structure. There's two layers of this material. They're 16 inches apart. So this is an outer layer, and then there's an inner layer of the material. So this takes the rain, the snow off of the building, and the inner layer is there for some insulation, but should something get through the outer layer, the inner layer takes it away. This is the method that it's attached to the roof here. Steel cables, which are bundled together, larger ones in some locations than others. It's attached with clamps like this, and then the fabric comes over and is attached to the cable through a mechanism like this. So it's much like a sail on a ship. It's very nautical in the way that the details are put together and things are formed.
The white fabric structure was a major breakthrough in that process because we looked at steel, glass, concrete, many other structural systems to try to devise a roof for this building that would relate to the mountains. It's coated in Teflon, so it's self-cleaning. You have to wash it maybe once a year with just water and soap like you use for dishes.
"40 meters high. Up inside the insulating roof membranes, temperatures reach 40 degrees centigrade. Hot work. Cleaning the hot white mountain range is time-consuming. 35,000 square meters of material need to be vacuumed, a feat which takes the free-climbing cleaners several weeks. With a total area of 14,000 hectares, 6 runways, and its immense volume of traffic, Denver International is not only the largest airport in America, but in fact, one of the largest in the world. Size was not an issue during the planning. This vast, flat prairie has room for 100 airports like this. At short notice, the city of Denver purchased half of its own size from the neighboring farming communities. In terms of air safety, this is ideal. Planes don't have to change direction. They land, taxi towards the gates, and take off in the same direction on the opposite side of the terminal building. This airport is in fact one of the safest in the world. Storm-proof corridors have been erected to shelter flights from the frequent hurricanes and thunderstorms during the summer months. In winter, heavy blizzards cut the airport completely off from the outside world, and all is still and white for a while. Silent. Planes land here day and night, but the aircraft noise bothers no one. Downtown Denver is an hour's drive away. Night transforms the airport into a glowing landmark. The illuminated peaks are visible for miles, greeting nighttime passengers on their arrival. "25 miles from the airport is the former gold mining city of Denver. During the mid-18th century, the first Mexican settlers moved here, full of hope and in gold fever. Few got rich, but many settled here even after the gold digging ended. Denver is an ever-growing city, and one of the major administrative capitals in the U.S. The city needs its airport, and the airport needs the city. The county owns the airport, and the architects were given the brief to include this growth factor into their plans from the very start. Downtown Denver is where local architect Curtis Fentress has his office. He and his 70 employees have great experience when it comes to building and planning major airports. They've won many commissions in the past for airports in Korea and Canada, Thailand, and many other places. In Madrid, they came in second.
This is a model of our competition entry to the Madrid Airport International Design Competition. This was a major infill piece to the Seattle SeaTac Airport. We created a center for people in this area. So the basic module of the Incheon Airport is shown in this model. The profile of this section here is patterned after the Korean home. This is a master plan model for the Denver International Airport. On this green area of the model, one can see the approach roads as you drive into the building for curbside drop-offs. The upper level is around 1,000 foot long, so there's 2,000 foot of curbside drop-off for passenger cars, private vehicles, and taxis. When I moved here around 25 years ago, the city was approaching a population, the metropolitan area was approaching a population of around 1 million. Today, the city and the metropolitan area is looking at a population of close to 3 million. So this airport has been dramatic in terms of the expansion of the population of the city. And at some future date, we'll be able to expand that to the south and create here an additional 3 modules to the building for future expansion. This is a point in time when there will be 12 runways at the airport and approximately 300 gates. Currently, there is 90 gates at the airport, and we're expanding that currently to around 120 gates at the airport. But you can see the idea of the concept of the white fabric roofs creating additional white fabric roofs as it goes to the south. One of the things that we're learning about airports is that they are major transportation arteries. They are generators of commerce. Because this airport is easy to get into and easy to get out of, because it's very easy to use. A lot of companies are locating their regional distribution centers here in Denver because of the air access to the rest of the country.
The Rocky Mountains are not only the highest in the continental U.S., but also form the landscape at the edge of the Midwest. Up here at an altitude of 4,000 meters, the air is thin and clear. The literally breathtaking panorama is a paradise which attracts many nature lovers, climbers, hikers, mountain bikers, and skiers. The rocky outline of peaks was the inspiration for the architectural flight of fancy at its feet. Fentress loves these mountains. He's known them all his life, and he has taken their natural beauty down to the plains to form his airport design. The area around the airport is of overwhelming proportions. Passengers and planes are only one factor of the world beyond the security zone. Beyond the perimeter fence, rattlesnakes, birds of prey, and burrowing owls are able to move freely, the wild and natural residents of a gigantic airport. At the edge of the runways, time seems to stand still. On lonely lanes between corn and wheat fields lies the dust of centuries. The ghosts of Native Americans remain in the air. Today, more earthly treasures are being mined, this time black gold from the airport's own oil fields. Self-sufficiency is everything.
Well, 65 million years ago, this was all a rainforest in here. And during construction of the airport, we found a number of petrified palm trees, things like that we've donated to various museums around the city. Then for a number of years, of course, it was used by the Plains Indians. They would pass through here. They lived east of here, but they would pass through this area on their way to hunt in the mountains. And then, of course, it turned into farmland. The farmers raised dryland crops here, wheat and barley, things like that, sunflowers. And then the airport bought the land from the farmers and built the airport.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day.
I've lived here over 50 years, and it's the first cowboy hat I ever had. I'm not a cowpoke.
No one here is for real. The senior citizens in their cowboy hats, the so-called ambassadors, are voluntary guides who impart the feeling of long-lost Western pride.
We're going to have 162,000 people through here today. And this is a big deal. Boy, every 2 minutes there'll be a train of like 350 people. It's just amazing the numbers of people traveling.
The ambassadors help the masses of passengers through the internal traffic system. And when celebrities arrive, they are accompanied through the underground labyrinth. The concept of the helping hand has been so successful that many airports have adopted it. A 2-lane underground train connects the main building to the gates. More than 8,000 travelers an hour ride the rails to reach their gates.
Exit here for all BK people that walk in and have never been here, and it's overwhelming to them, the size of it, and they just don't know where to go. They walk in and what do I do? And that's what we're here for, to tell them where they need to find their concourse. So there are a lot of people that need help out here.
The difficult part is trying to determine what airline the people were on and from what city they came. It's just murder sometimes. People, they don't remember what airline or it's just all hosed up. I've been here 12 years and I've never flown out of here yet. I drive.
The terminal and the gates are lined up like pearls on a string. Below them, a unique luggage transport system. It's so complex that it caused many technical problems initially, which delayed the inauguration of the airport for 16 months. However, it is still one of the most modern systems in any airport, and at a cost of $311 million, also the most expensive. Today, the suitcase rarely disappears on the way from the check-in desk to the carousel at Journey's End. Nevertheless, dark speculations and myths exist regarding the vast network of subterranean passages beneath the airport.
Sure, there have been a number of conspiracy theories, and you can read all about them on the internet. There are a number of websites devoted to things like that. People think that we have underground runways, that we have an underground prison system here where we keep political prisoners from the government, things like that. It's all, it's all hokum, it's all wrong, it's all just false talk, but it does make good stories. I don't deny the possibility of UFOs, certainly, but and if they needed a long runway to land, this would be as good a spot as any.
America is used to conspiracy theories and political secrets. Not even the most progressive airport can avoid that. Between the past and the future, architects and airport operators have constructed a place of myth and reality. Just before the building process started here in the prairie, a number of different Native American tribes were invited to pay their respects to the past hunting grounds and settlements, to say farewell to their past pastures, to cast out any evil spirits, just in case.
The thing that makes architecture iconic is that you can look at it, anyone can look at it, and they see something they can tell their friends about that they can relate to. And that in itself makes the building interesting. I can describe it to you, I can talk to you about it. It's not Gothic, it's not a modernist design, it's something unique, it's something of this place. So this airport in a way, being the first greenfield airport in the United States in probably 40 years, was a beginning in terms of creating that idea that other airport directors have latched onto now around the world to make unique structures out of an airport.
This modern airport can now rest on the endless expanse of prairie. For the Native Americans have shared their peace pipe with the cowboys and builders of architecture. And believe it or not, since this flight of fancy opened 16 years ago, not a single accident has occurred.